Jesus cried, my God, why have you forsaken me?" But here is the mystery. Was Jesus abandoned by the Father? Or was he pointing everyone to a psalm that explained the whole crucifixion? Matthew 27 says that while Jesus was hanging on the cross, he cried out with a loud voice, "Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani?" That means, my God, why have you forsaken me?" At first it sounds like despair. It sounds like the Son has been left alone. It sounds like heaven has gone silent. But those words were not random. Jesus was quoting the opening line of Psalm 22. And once you read Psalm 22, the mystery becomes much deeper. Because Psalm 22 was written long before the crucifixion of Jesus. Yet it describes suffering that looks exactly like the cross. It says, "They pierced my hands and my feet." It says, "They divide my garments among them, and for my clothing they cast lots." It says, "All those who see me ridicule me." And that is exactly what happened at Calvary. The soldiers cast lots for his garments. The crowd mocked him. His hands and feet were pierced. So when Jesus cried, my God, why have you forsaken me?" He was not only expressing agony, he was identifying the moment. He was saying, this is the scripture, this is the prophecy, this is the suffering king. But Psalm 22 does not end in defeat. That is the part many people miss. It begins with anguish, but it ends with victory. It moves from suffering to worship, from humiliation to worldwide praise, from the cry of abandonment to the declaration that God has not ignored the afflicted one. So on the cross, Jesus is carrying the weight of sin. He is experiencing the horror of judgment. He is entering the deepest darkness of human separation. But even in his suffering, he is still fulfilling scripture. The people around the cross thought he was defeated. The religious leaders thought God had rejected him. Rome thought another criminal was dying. But Jesus was quoting a psalm that already revealed the ending. The suffering would not be wasted. The mockery would not win. The cross would not be the final word. Psalm 22 begins with, my God, why have you forsaken me?" But it ends with the nations worshiping the Lord. That means the cry from the cross was not the sound of failure. It was the sound of prophecy. Jesus was not on the cross yet, but in Gethsemane, his body was already under so much pressure that his sweat became like drops of blood. And then he prayed something strange. "Father, let this cup pass from me." So what was in the cup? The story happens the night before the crucifixion. Jesus has eaten the Last Supper. Judas has already gone into the darkness. The cross is now only hours away. Then Jesus takes Peter, James, and John into the Garden of Gethsemane. And that name matters. Gethsemane means oil press, a place where olives were crushed until oil came out. So before Jesus was crushed publicly at Calvary, he entered a place of private crushing. Matthew 26 says Jesus became sorrowful and deeply distressed. Then he says, "My soul is exceedingly sorrowful, even to death." That is not ordinary fear. That is not normal stress. That is agony at the deepest level. Then Luke 22 says his agony became so intense that his sweat became like great drops of blood falling to the ground. Now Luke was a physician, so he gives us this physical detail. But the deeper mystery is not only what happened to his body. The deeper mystery is what Jesus was carrying in his soul. Jesus falls on his face and prays, "Oh my Father, if it is possible, let this cup pass from me." Now pause, Jesus came to die. He had already told his disciples he would suffer, be killed, and rise again. So why would he ask for the cup to pass? Because in scripture, the cup often represents judgment, suffering, and wrath. Jesus was not simply afraid of nails. He was facing the full weight of sin, betrayal, mockery, abandonment, judgment, death. The sinless Son of God was about to carry what humanity could not carry. This is why Gethsemane is so powerful. In Eden, Adam faced temptation in a garden and chose his own will. In Gethsemane, Jesus faced suffering in a garden and surrendered his will. Adam said yes to sin. Jesus said yes to the Father. That is why he prayed, "Nevertheless, not as I will, but as you will." The victory of the cross began before the nails. It began when Jesus surrendered in the garden. So why did Jesus sweat blood? Because Gethsemane was not weakness, it was warfare. It was obedience under pressure. It was the Son of God looking into the cup of judgment and still choosing to save us. Like and subscribe for more Jesus Mysteries Explained, and comment below. What do you think was in the cup?